In this video, I'll get you guys started with Spring WebFlux. So by the end of this video, you'll be writing your first reactive REST API and you'll be building reactive endpoints. Well, this is one of the most trending topic right now, and I encourage both freshers and the experienced developer to have a look into this if you guys have not yet started with Spring WebFlux, because the Spring WebFlux is a whole new tech stack and that is going to rule in the future. So there should be an absolute question. Is there any prerequisite to learn Spring WebFlux? And the answer is yes, absolutely. But for this video, you do not need any prerequisite. You can straight away get started with this video, because this video also going to tell you what are the prerequisites that you'll be learning and how you'll be learning that. So while we'll be writing our code, we'll be exploring different things, and accordingly we'll be deciding what things to learn, what things to skip. Let's just first start creating a Spring Starter project over here. I will be creating a new Spring Starter project. And what I'm going to be doing, I will be creating a Maven project, and I will name this as Spring WebFlux 01. This is my first Spring WebFlux project. Just like you are learning Spring MVC, Spring REST, Spring Security, WebFlux is another module. Well, it's not a module, it's a whole new tech stack we will be using right over here. So you'll be seeing that in next 5 to 10 minutes. So don't freak out whenever you'll be seeing new things, because I'm going to be explaining each and everything. And in this session, what we will target, we just want to approach this Spring WebFlux. We'll understand what exactly we are doing. So you don't have to scratch your head whenever you'll be seeing new components name, new interfaces name, or if you're seeing some new servers or something, right? Don't freak out. Everything is same. Only the coding pattern will be a little different. Now, why we will be coding differently and what benefits this is going to add on, so that we will be discussing throughout the session, right? So I know that we are just getting started. So I will not go so much in depth. Will tell you something, blah, blah, blah things, which will feel like a rocket science or something, right? So let's just really get started from the scratch, from the absolute scratch, okay? So don't worry. So let's just create a Maven project, Java 17 or anything higher than that. You just need to choose. So packaging type will be jar, language is Java. So let's say Spring WebFlux 01 is the artifact. And let's just say group ID is com.seleniumexpress dot demo, let's just say. And package also, let me make it same as the group ID. And let's just do the next. And here I'll be choosing Spring Reactive Web. Previously, while we develop our Spring application, we used to choose Spring Web because you need to create Spring Web MVC application, right? So whenever you use Spring Web, what server comes free with it? Anybody remember? Like normal Spring application. Whenever you choose this, your Spring Web application runs in what server? Tomcat server, right? Just like that, we have a whole new tech stack over here. For this tech stack, it is normal servlet, Tomcat, and all that you have used, right? But the problem with the Tomcat server, it is not built to handle reactive stream kind of things. Reactive friendly, what I can say, right? So the Spring Reactive Wave we will be choosing over here, because this is going to give us a server where we can write more asynchronous kind of programming, okay? More non-blocking code we can write over here. So maybe this might be a confusing. So in the Spring Wave, imagine we used to have a Tomcat server. And in the Tomcat server, whenever we used to get a request, right, our server used to handle it and used to process a response to you, right? You give a request, you're going to get a response. Okay, that is clear. So always whenever you're going to get a request, there used to be a thread which used to handle the request for you, isn't it? In your Tomcat server, you hit a request, somebody need to process your request. Who is that somebody? A thread that exists inside your server. Now that thread used to process your request, but until and unless your request is not completed, that thread used to be occupied. Let's say you are making some DB call in your code, or you are making any external REST API call inside your code. So the server thread which is handling your code, until and unless that code completes, until and unless that DB call is complete, or that REST API call that you are making inside your code that is complete. If it is, imagine if you're fetching huge number of data from the database, until and unless you haven't fetched all the data from the database, that thread used to be occupied, right? Imagine a situation where lot of requests are coming into your server. Maybe the Tomcat server may not able to handle that kind of load, particularly in a microservices environment where a lot of requests are coming. And for every request, if you're going to give one thread to handle one request, then we may run out of threads, because our server, the Spring Web uses Tomcat, and the Tomcat server has limited number of threads. And the Tomcat server basically work in a thread per request model, right? So for one request, we used to have one thread, which is going to handle that particular request in a Tomcat environment. But in a microservices environment, in today's programming, or in today's world, we cannot afford to make our threads busy or sitting idle when something is going on. Let's say some DB data you are fetching. Okay, while from the DB you are fetching the data, the thread which is handling that request is sitting idle, right? It is not doing anything. It is just waiting till the data to be fetched from the DB, and after that it will process it, and after that it will give you the response back. We cannot afford that in today's world. What we want some kind of a server where the thread will not sit idle. Let's say you're going to hit a request, right? The server will handle that request. Then the server, let's say you are saying that, okay, I will be right now fetching some data from the DB. Now the thread which is handling your request, now that thread is saying, okay, now database will start its work. It is not yet fetched the data, so I can do something else. I can basically go ahead and can handle somebody else's request, right? So we do not want our thread to sit idle. We want some kind of asynchronous behavior over here. We do not believe in the thread per request model right now. We want one thread to handle multiple requests, and whenever some ideal kind of work is going on, that time the thread should be free of and it should do something else, right? So for that kind of behavior, we will be switching to Spring Reactive Web over here. Because here, what server we will get? We will not get Tomcat server. We're going to be getting a Netty server. And the Netty is designed for the non-blocking calls. Okay, so the Netty server that we're going to be getting over here in the Spring Reactive Web is designed where our threads, we can effectively use our threads. Now this is like, okay, Avilas, I don't know multi-threading. Can I approach this? Obviously, you won't be doing anything. The server will be taking care of everything. So you just need to understand what is going on. You don't have to write program to do all these things, right? So, long story short, let's just choose Spring Reactive Web over here. Let's just do next, okay? Let's just do finish. I just have one dependency, by the way, Spring Reactive Web. Let's just do finish. And let's just create a Spring Boot project, okay? So I'm assuming that I'm not giving KT to whoever has completed my Reactive Java course or any experienced developer who is already working in Spring WebFlux project. I'm not assuming that I'm giving KT to them. I'm giving KT to somebody right now who is just watching this lesson for the first time. Okay, so let's treat this lesson in that way. So with all this thing, if it is making you confused, so there is the prerequisite you have to learn. That is what we call the reactive Java. Okay, so the Spring WebFlux that we will be using right over here in the pom.xml, if you're gonna see, I'm using the Spring Boot Starter WebFlux. And behind the scene, this Spring Boot Starter WebFlux uses Project Reactor behind the scene. So you have to learn Project Reactor in order to understand what exactly is reactive programming, what exactly is reactive reactive streams, right? But anyhow, you can learn that using my reactive Java course, but don't worry, I'm not going to make you confused. For over here, right now, you're going to be seeing what is the benefit of using Spring WebFlux. And then from tomorrow, maybe for the next 7 days or next 10 days, you can start learning Java Reactive from my reactive course that I do have, right? That is the prerequisite. But is that the only way? If I want to learn Spring WebFlux, do I need to start with reactive programming and then I have to jump into Spring WebFlux? Well, that should be the right way, but that might slower your learning, right? Because you have to complete that course first, then you have to jump into this. But that is the best approach that I will tell you. But what if you are directly onboarding with Spring WebFlux? Your company told like, okay, right now you have to work with Spring WebFlux. So if you're watching this lesson, you can also learn the WebFlux straight away. And whenever you're going to be encountering something, you're going to be doing some research and will be learning about it. That will be also like, you can also use that formula. If you're watching all these videos, you can straight away get started with this video and slowly started to understand. You will start to understand what different things means, what different components means and all that. Okay. Just like, to learn Spring Data JPA, the Spring Data JPA internally uses Hibernate, right? So you have to learn Hibernate first, then you have to learn Spring Data JPA. Can I learn Spring Data JPA straight away? Yes, you can learn it. You can still understand it, but you might miss a lot of things, right? What Hibernate does, a lot of internal things you might miss, right? So for that kind of perspective, learning reactive Java first can be beneficial, right? But for this lesson, it is not required because I'm going to be showing you some key things so that it will trigger that interest of yours so that you can go ahead and can start learning. Okay. So one takeaway that we have taken here, we have used WebFlux and behind the scene, it is using Project Reactor. Okay. So forget about all that things. So why we're using Spring Boot Starter WebFlux? Because we want to create some REST APIs. Okay. So why you want to create some REST APIs using Spring Boot Starter WebFlux? Why not Spring Boot Starter Web, normal Spring MVC? Well, because this will be, by using this module, we can make non-blocking call. Okay. So can you give me some example? Now you might have the next question. Well, I'm going to be doing that. Okay. Just hold on to that. Okay. So now let me close this. First thing that I'm going to be doing. Okay. I will go ahead and create a controller. Okay. So you know how to create a simple controller, right? Nothing to tell about it. Let me quickly develop that. I'm going to create a controllers package and I will be creating a controller. Which controller? Let's say hello world controller. Okay. Simple thing, nothing to explain. This is a controller, right? @controller. I don't think I have to explain you what do you mean by @controller. Go ahead and watch the Spring MVC sessions. If somebody is straight away jumping into that, you have to first learn a little bit of boot, a little bit of Spring REST. Okay, if you want to develop reactive REST APIs, first learn how to develop a simple REST API, right? So just learn about all these annotations if you're not familiar with this, and directly jumping into this, because right now I can see a lot of people from my community, they're project managers, they're forcing them to learn WebFlux, they're directly jumping into my old reactive course and started with all these annotations and they're freaking out. Well, to learn reactive, first Spring Boot is also a little bit required, little bit of Spring REST is also required. Okay, so that is another prerequisite. Fine. Now let's just go ahead and create this controller. Let's say hello world handler. I'm going to be creating a handler method which is going to handle a request, and I'm going to make a get mapping or a request mapping, and I'm going to say hello here. Okay, and this is going to return a string. Let's say hello world. Okay, something very simple. And this is going to return you a string over here. Okay, And I'm going to make this method public over here. And I have my controller ready. Whenever I'm going to be hitting this, I'm going to be getting this string back. Now let's just start this WebFlux Spring Boot project. Okay. Now look at the logs. Are you seeing anything which is not familiar over here? Anything? Can you figure it out? One thing is over here. I just want to drag your attention. The server thing. Can you check the server where my Spring Boot application is started right now?
Native web server.
Native server, right? I told you why we are having the native server over here. Because right now we have started our application having the starter in the pom.xml file. And what starter we have used? The WebFlux starter. And for the WebFlux, Spring has a different tech stack. And the WebFlux is used to create the reactive REST APIs. Now, again, what do you mean by reactive REST APIs? Hold on. I'm going to be telling you with an example right away. But right now, this is a normal REST endpoints that we have created. But as we have used that WebFlux, starter over there, over here, the server which is coming with the starter is Netty, right? So our application is right now started with the native server. Okay. Well, that's good. So you don't have to now. Should I go and learn about the native server? No, you don't have to do anything. So it's the default support by the Spring. Whenever you are doing anything with the Spring web application, are you learning the Tomcat first? Well, learning Tomcat will be good, but most of you guys are not learning, but still working with the Spring application. So get yourself familiarized. This is the server where my application is deployed, and that server is native server. Okay, let's just go ahead right now and hit our endpoint. Okay, and my endpoint should be localhost 8080/hello or something, or hello world. Hello. Hey, unexpected error. There is an unexpected error. What was that error? Cannot resolve the view name. Okay.
You have to give @REST controller.
REST controller. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Otherwise, I can also give a response body. Sorry. Response body. Okay. I can also give that. That should work. Or I can just write REST controller, right? Basic Spring. REST controller. I can remove the response body because the REST controller, if you remember, comes with the response body already. Thank you for correcting. Let's just start this and let's just see whether our controller works right now. Okay, started, enter, and it's working. All good. Right now, what I want to do, guys, I want to return a list of string, not one string over here, hello world. Let's say I have a list of string, let's say list of, and let's just create a bunch of strings straight away. Let's say hello world, let's say hi, let's say everyone. Okay, let's say I have a list of string. Let's just handle the return type. It's going to give you a string list. Okay, so if I want to return this string list over here, okay, and if I want to change the return type to list of string over here, okay, and let me restart my application. So it is going to give you a list of string, right? So if I'm going to do enter over here, I'm going to get a list of string, and obviously the string list is converted or serialized to JSON array, and I'm getting all these things in a JSON format because Spring Boot by default gives a JSON support to me, so that the string list is getting converted to JSON, right? I think everybody knows about it. So now what I want to do over here, imagine here there is some heavy operation is going on over here. Imagine some DB operation is going on, or some operation which is taking a bit of time to process your request. So here you are accepting the request, and this is your handler method. Your handler method is handling the request. Whenever this request match, this function will be invoked. I know you know about it, but just telling all these things because I will relate all these things later. So I have a request mapping or get mapping. Whenever this request matches, this handler method is getting invoked. And whenever it is getting invoked, imagine some long task is going on over here. For an example, imagine this is a string list that we have over here. There is another list. Imagine there is another list I have. Let's say list of another list of string. Let's say it is my return list. This is the list I'll be returning. Let's say new array list. Okay. And let's say return list I will be returning right now. Okay. So this is the empty list. So obviously this is not going to give you any data right now. If I'm going to run this one more time, I might have used the dep tools, but that's fine. Okay. You can see there is no data over here. Now what I want to do inside my application, I want to write a for loop. Okay. Inside this for loop, what I'm going to do, I'm going to iterate over this string list that I have. Now I'm going to add all these elements to this return list. Okay, so I'm going to fetch out the string and I'm going to add everything to this return list. So I'm going to say return list dot add and str. Okay, so if I'm going to do this, then I'm going to fetch elements one by one from this string list and I'm going to be adding it over here to the return list and I'm returning the return list, right? So if I'm going to do this, again, I'm going to get the same thing. So why I have done this thing? Because here inside the for loop, imagine after adding one string, after fetching one string from this list and adding it to the return list, I want to do what? After each call, I just want to do thread.sleep. I want to sleep I want to make this application, make this thing sleep for let's say 1000 millisecond or maybe 1 second. Okay. So if I'm going to add the exception to the throws. Okay. Now let's just run this application. So what it is going to do in every iteration, first it is going to add it to this return list and then it is going to wait for 1000 millisecond. Again, it is going to fetch another element from the list, then we'll be adding it to this return list and then wait for 1000 millisecond. Now imagine you are handling the request over here. After handling the request, your handler method need to process the work. So whenever you handle the request, some thread should have, accepted the request. Whenever the request is coming to your server, right now, let's say somebody is going to hit /hello. Let's just hit /hello. Let's just create another tab. Control C, paste it over here. Enter. See, it is keep going on right now. The thread which is handling that request is blocked right now for 4 seconds. And once the entire request is ready, once the entire response is ready, it is returning me the complete list by adding in all these elements to inside that particular list. The thing that I want to show you, in this handler method, we are returning a list of string, okay? And it is blocked, and the thread which is handling this, it is a blocking call we are making. So once we make this request, it's a blocking call. Blocking call means the thread which is handling the request. Now that thread need to send me the response. But before sending me the response, here after each operation, we're waiting for some time. Imagine this is some DB operation, which is fetching data from the database. And it's a long running task. So the thread which is handling that request is blocked. And once the entire request is ready, once the entire response is ready, by the way, it is returning that response. And that's why we are having a bit of waiting time over here. And by the time we are waiting over here, the thread which is handling that request is blocked. Now imagine there are so many people hitting this endpoint like this, okay? Inside a microservices application, a lot of requests are coming. If one thread which is handling that request is going to be blocked like this, then soon you're going to be running out of memory space, right? And you cannot say like, okay, I am going to create 20 servers, 30 servers. Man, you need to give money for that, okay? It should be coming with a price, right? So what solution that we need to have? Well, we have the Netty server here and we are not utilizing the Netty server, okay? So now I'm going to be telling the effective way we can solve this particular problem. What I want right now here in this use case, I want some thread from my server to handle this request. Now that thread will see, okay, there is a long running task going on over here. So why should I wait over here? Why should I wait that this response to be ready? What should I do over here? Let this task complete over here. But by the time the task completes, I can go and can do something else. I can just handle somebody else's request, right? So if you want to do that, then you have to go with the reactive approach. And this return type that you have over here is list of string. This will not work right now in that way. Instead, you need to return a mono of string or a flux of string. So if you guys are out of touch, don't remember mono, don't remember flux, then again, I'll encourage you to watch my reactive stream course before coming into the next class. Like, I will make it simple for sure, but I'll give you this week that you're going to be having, just invest learning reactive stream. Okay. But for today's lesson, you guys don't have to worry because I'm going to tell you a bit what is this flux and mono thing, just to recap if you guys forgot everything. In simple word, guys, if imagine I have a method here called foo. Okay. So inside this foo, imagine I want to create a publisher. Imagine this is a publisher. Let's say I'm going to say foo publisher. Okay. Publisher means it is going to publish data. How many data it is going to publish? Let's say it is going to publish many data. Okay. Data means what? It can be anything, integer, string, okay, some custom type or blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's say if you want a publisher which can emit multiple data or 0 data, 1 data, many data, then you have to go for a flux. So flux you have to use. You can see it is coming from the Reactor core, same project Reactor API I have added over here. So in this project, in my pom.xml, I have added, you can see, you don't have to go mad with all these plugins which has been added. Nothing to do with this. You just need to see this dependency that I have added. This is the Reactor core dependency that I have added inside this project. This is just for a sample project. You guys don't have to worry. No need to replicate all these things. Just understand this. You have a flux. In order to create a flux, I'm going to use, let's say, just method. Okay. And here, imagine I have a bunch of string. Let's say Abhi, let's say Rakesh, let's say Ramya, something like this. Okay. I have a bunch of string over here. And now if I'm going to hover on this just method, what it is returning me? It is returning me a flux of string, not a list of string. It's a flux of string. Okay. Now this is what I can say, a publisher. Now this is a publisher which is going to emit data to me, like Avi, Rakesh, Ramya. Let's say this publisher contains multiple data over here. Okay, that this publisher can emit. So let's just say I'm going to return this publisher over here, which is a flux publisher. And I'm going to return this flux string over here. Okay, just to brush off. And you have this. I'm going to end it over here. Now, this is a flux that you have. So right now, how can you get data from this publisher? You can do something like this. First of all, let's just create the object for this class. Let's say new test. I'm going to call this foo publisher. This foo publisher is going to return me this flux of string. So I'm going to write flux of string and I'm going to say a publisher. Okay. Now, if I want to get data from this publisher, now I have a hold to that publisher. Now, if I want to get data from it, I can use subscribe. Okay. And I can subscribe to the publisher. This is a publisher subscriber model. And what I want to subscribe, the subscriber basically takes a consumer over here. So you can just do a new consumer. Okay. And what type of data you want to consume? I want to consume string type of data. And the consumer is an interface. It has a method called accept. You can accept that string over here. And let's say you can do whatever you want to do with that string. Obviously, I want to just print it over here. So I'm going to say str. Okay. So if I'm going to run this, right click, run Java, you can see I have all my data over here. Abhi, Rakesh, Ramya. So from my publisher, I have subscribed to that publisher and I'm basically I want the data from that publisher. So this publisher is pushing data one by one to the subscriber when the data is ready. Now let's just basically convert this thing to lambda a little bit. So I can remove all these things and I can say it is going to take a consumer. So I will just give a lambda symbol and I will remove all these things and I'm going to take this to one line, something like this. Okay. So it's very simple and very straightforward. So this is my subscriber, which has a behavior, and that is like whenever the subscriber is going to receive a data from the publisher, it is going to do this. It is going to react to this. It is going to print this in this case, right? So the publisher can be async. Right now, it is just emitting all this data straight away. So let's say if I'm going to do dot delay elements over here in my publisher, and if I'm going to say duration dot delay, just imagine this is a publisher which is emitting data in a delay of second, let's say of seconds, 1 second. After every 1 second, this Flux is a publisher which is going to emit data like Avi, and after 1 second Rakesh, after 1 second Ramya, after 1 second blah blah blah, right? If it has that data, it will emit every data after 1 second. Now let's just see. This subscriber is right now tired of this publisher, and this publisher is getting created from this method called foo_publisher, which is going to publish data after 1 second. Right now, let's just see how it works. So if I'm going to run this right now, look at your console. It is waiting for 1 second. Well, is it working in the first place? Let me clear this. Okay, let me run this. Oh, what is happening over here? Right now, this main method is starting. Whenever the main method starts in Java, the main thread also basically starts. The main thread is basically takes the responsibility of running this main method. So the main thread is basically attaching the subscriber over here with this publisher. But the publisher is not, the subscriber is not getting any data from the publisher, because the subscriber will get data from the publisher after 1 second, right? So by the time the subscriber receives his first data, main method says, okay, you're going to be doing it in a different thread because it is a non-blocking operation. So the main method, is done with my work. I'm exiting my program. Well, I don't want you to do that main method. I want you to hold on a bit. So I'm going to do thread.sleep a bit. And I'm going to tell my main method, okay, you just sleep for this much of millisecond. Okay. So there you go. Now, if I'm going to run this, okay, see, Abhi, Rakesh, Ramya, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So what you need to understand here, the subscriber is subscribed with this publisher, and whenever the publisher is going to emit the data after 1 second, it is going to push it to the subscriber, and the subscriber is going to consume that particular data and going to print this. Okay, the subscriber is going to react to the data the publisher is going to push. Okay, the publisher subscriber works in a push model. The publisher is going to push data, and the subscriber is going to consume that data. Okay, that's something that we're going to be doing over here. So right now, let's just come to our example. So here, what I want, here I do not want to return a list of string, by the way. So if I'm going to remove all this thing that I have done, I hope that you remember what we are doing over here. We just need to go reactive right now, and I'm going to show you the way it works. Now see, first of all, if I am going to remove everything, okay, if I'm going to remove this for loop that I have, okay, let's say I have a string list. I'm going to remove this return list also. Imagine I have a string list over here. I want to create a flux from this string list. Why I'm creating a flux from this string list? Because the flux is a publisher, and the flux is somewhat is going to be helping me for the to create a reactive API. So I'm going to tell you what I exactly mean by that. Okay. So let's say I'm going to create a flux from a method called just. I think just is going to take only t data. So I'm going to create the flux from iterable, because I want to create this flux from this string list. So I'm going to put the string list over here. Now this from iterable is going to give me a flux of string. It is going to be a publisher which is going to emit string data. So flux of string means flux is a publisher which is going to emit the string data. So I'm going to say publisher here. Okay. Now, what I want to do, let's say I'm going to return this over here, publisher over here. Okay. So what is going to be the return type? The return type is going to be flux of string. Let me change the list of string to flux of string. Okay. Sorry. Go back. Let's just change this to flux of string. Okay. Now you see the magic. Okay. Right now what I'm going to do, I'm saying that, okay, I have this many of data inside this list. I'm going to create a flux out of that list and I'm going to return this. Now let me run this. Okay. Let me run this. So it is going to restart my server and deploy my application on the Netty server, right? And now let's just go to our API. Let's just do enter. And now I'm getting hello, world, hi, everyone. I'm getting all my strings, but you might not see the benefit why we're returning the flux of string, right? Why we're returning the flux of string? Why it is not list of string? What is the difference over here? Well, you're gonna see the difference right now. Imagine I'm gonna hit this request, okay? Now my server, which is Netty server, is going to handle this request. Now the Netty server is doing what? It is just processing this request. Right now, imagine this flux, which is basically going to publish a string data to me, or to me in the sense, this is the client right now. Imagine this is the client, this is the subscriber, and this is the publisher. Imagine right now, your Spring Boot application as a publisher, which is going to publish data, publish flux data, publish flux of string, like string data, but in an async way. What do you mean by async way? You're going to be realizing that in a minute, okay? Now imagine for that async support, I have used this flux over here, okay? Now it is returning the flux over here. But from here we are creating the flux, right? Imagine there is a long running task and this flux is emitting elements with a delay. Let's say I'm going to do delay elements and I'm going to say duration and I'm going to just say up seconds. And let's say it is giving me elements after each 2 seconds. Now this is a publisher which is going to publish data. That means it is going to publish a string after every 2 seconds. Okay. And I'm returning this flux of string over here and look at my return type of this handler method. This should be something new that you are learning right now. It is a flux of string. Okay. Now let's just run this application. And you're going to be saying magic. Now, the hello world handler is going to return a flux of string, which is going to emit string type of data with a delay of 2 seconds, right? Now, let's just hit enter. See, request is going on. 2 seconds pass. It emitted hello, emitted world, emitted hi, emitted everyone. See, it is not a blocking call. Right? So whenever it is just giving you the data back, whenever you hit this endpoint, you got real-time data. It is fetching it, then giving you the data. Then it fetches something else, giving you that data. Again, it is fetching something else and giving you that data. Now your client application, which is Google Chrome in this case, is not waiting till the entire request to be processed to generate the entire response from the server, and the server is giving you back the entire response. Till then, your Google Chrome, which is your client application, is not waiting till that 4 second or 8 second to complete. Right now, how many elements we have? Let's say 4 elements. So it should take 8 seconds. Now my client is not waiting for 8 seconds. Now in each 2 seconds, once the publisher is publishing some data, my client application is receiving that data right now, and you can look at that in real time. It is streaming the data, right? Isn't it cool? And the best thing that you're going to be seeing right now from the console. Well, in my console, there is nothing available. So to show you that thing, like you might ask me, okay, Avilas, right now you are saying, so whenever you hit that endpoint, one thread is handling that request, okay? And now over here, when the thread is saying, okay, the element will be delayed, so I can go ahead and can do something useful. Maybe I will be serving another request from another client. Now, if that thread is like going up there and helping a other client to process, so do you think whenever the data is ready, another thread will process the request and build the response and will give the publisher the data back? And if you're thinking that, you are exactly that is the exact thing that you need to think. Okay, so I'm going to prove that. And for that, I'm going to use a simple method here called log, right? If I'm going to use this log method right now, if I'm going to run this application, now you're going to see something very useful over here. Now you can see your application started in Netty server. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to hit hello. Okay. Now see, it is going to keep giving you data. Okay. Keep giving you data, but look at that. It is fetching data one by one. On next method is getting called. And the important thing, see here, first, whenever your application, like your client is hitting the endpoint, it is first asking for, it is hitting this unsubscribe method. Well, when the publisher and subscriber communicates, there are a lot of calls going in between, like unsubscribe, request, on next method is getting used to give the data to the subscriber. Okay, so you're going to be understanding all these requests on next and what exactly all these things are once you complete reactive Java. So at least watch how the Flux works, that video from my reactive Java. Okay, but I'll be giving you a quick brief, but right over here you can think your client, whenever you are hitting this endpoint, right now what is happening, your client is basically trying to subscribe with your Spring Boot application. It is sending a subscribe request, and the unsubscribe method is getting called right now. Okay, now it is giving you a subscription object. So forget about that. I don't want to confuse you over here if you don't know about what are these methods and if you're looking at it for the first time. But if you already know Flux, it should be very easy for you. You can understand your client is right now trying to subscribe. And after that, the client is asking for one element from that Flux. Now it is requesting for one element. And after that, the server, which is your publisher, is right now giving hello to your client. Now your client is printing hello. And after that, the client is asking for all the elements. In this case, it is 127 elements. Again, it is sending a request to the server that, okay, give me all the elements. Now the server is sending all the elements that it has. Like the publisher is sending all the elements, like the Flux is sending all the elements that it has over here. And all these elements are going with an on next call. So on next world, on next hi, on next everyone. And after it emit all the elements like world, hi, everyone, it is emitting a on complete event so that your client is knowing that, okay, now the publisher is running out of data, nothing to show more. So that's it. It is going to populate all this data over here. Now, the important thing that you have to understand over here, you can see these are the things which is happening behind the scene. I have activated the log so that I'm seeing how my client, which is my Google Chrome, and how my server, which is my Netty server, and how my publisher, which exists in the server, they are communicating. The number of calls are going between them, and the publisher is sending data to my client like this with an on next call. It's pushing data to my client. But all these things are happening by whom? Is it by the main thread? Is it by the main thread? Because some thread is going to handle that request over here and then it will process it. Okay. Let's just see the log over here one more time. Okay. I'm going to see the log. Let's just maximize the console. Okay. Now look at this. Now the unsubscribe method is processed by this thread. Maybe something Reactor HTTP Neo 2. This is like your, let's say, project Reactor, like your Netty server thread. Okay, now this is the thread which is basically handling the request of the subscription, and this is the thread which is handling like where the client is asking for the data. It is just using the request call and giving you like one data. It is just processing your request for giving you one data, and after that there are some parallel threads over here, right? The parallel 2, parallel 4, parallel 4, parallel 2. We can see the data that is processing, like hello has been processed by parallel 1. Hi has been processed by parallel 3. Everyone is processed by parallel 4. Incomplete is processed by parallel 4. Right? All these events has been triggered by different threads that are handling that. And this is the most important thing that you have to understand. Like here, one thread is not doing all the things like your thread per request model that you used to have in Tomcat. That's why we are not using Tomcat here, because we want to go beyond Tomcat. We want to go we want to build application which will be highly scalable, which can be used in microservices environment, which can tolerate loads, lots of client will be hitting the request, lots of threads we need. We cannot afford a lot of threads over there because we need to spend money to purchase a lot of servers. So what we can do, we can have one server, but in that server we can write code in a reactive fashion. This is a reactive endpoint. Why? Because it is returning Flux substring. And what benefit this reactive publisher is giving me over here, because here the thread which is handling this request is not blocked. It is like multiple threads are involved processing all these elements right now. And whenever I'm going to make the call, it is not a blocking call. Like I'm going to hit this, the client will, the server will first handle it, then process it, then that server is free up. Another element has been emitted, then another thread will process and give it to the client. Another element has been emitted, that has been processed by another threads and will be given to the client. And here is the proof, and here you guys can see all these things. So that is the benefit that we are having by using this reactive endpoints. But so far, how many of you actually get the things that I'm trying to convey over here? Because I'm not going so much depth. I'm not giving you all the glory detail example. This is a simple example I have done. So like, you got any idea like what we're trying to do over here, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
So if you understand this, the first thing is done. Like I think like, at least you understand like why we're doing all these things. So at least if that much is clear, then we can go for the next thing. 1 second.
Abhilash, question.
Yes, Hemant.
Yeah, so what is actually the time taken by these two requests? What was the earlier and right now? So it will impact any time. Can you open the network table?
See, right now I'm giving the response in every 2 seconds, right? So maybe for 4 elements, it should be 8 seconds. Here, the delay will be same, right? The delay will be same for both of the use cases. So this is just to demonstrate you the importance of using this Flux, right? But in real world, the WebFlux, Hemant, is a very lightweight application which can help you to process things faster, but this is not the right example to tell you the time difference is less or more or something. Here, the example that I've given to show you, this is a non-blocking call. The thread which is handling this request is not blocked over here, is freed up, and the elements that we are processing over here, that is getting processed by different threads. So one thread is not blocked. So if it is taking 10 seconds, imagine this is taking 10 seconds over here. That means every element will be processed after 10 seconds. So for 4 elements, it will be like 40 seconds. So do you want to block a thread for 40 seconds? Like how much, the cost that we have to pay if we're going to block a thread for 40 seconds, it will be huge in a real-time application. So in order to avoid those things, we're using Flux substring. That's the only point that I want to say. Okay, 1 second. Guys, like you guys are with me. Up to this, you guys are with me, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Easy.
Okay, Abhilash,
Uh-huh.
one more point. Suppose we have two microservices, right? Calling one microservice from other. So
Mhm.
is that considered a blocking thread?
If you're using REST API, like what we call REST template, it's a blocking call. If you're using Fen client, that's a blocking call. But if you're using web client, that's a non-blocking call. And the web client is a part of this, like this thing. Okay, WebFlux. We're going to be learning that. While we're going to be making, right now we are making this call, like how we are making this call, Hemant. We are making it from the Google Chrome, right? But let's say I have another application, okay? That application, another Spring Boot application, which is going to hit this endpoint and going to consume the data this particular handler method is going to give you. How are you going to be making the call? If you're going to make the call using a web client, that will be a non-blocking call. And that is exactly what you need. Two applications, if they want to communicate, we want to have non-blocking call over there. Isn't it? If you are going to have blocking call, it's going to be the same use case that I'm giving you. Now, let's say I'm gonna ping you, Hemant. I'm gonna say hi, Hemant. Let's say you're gonna say me hi after 20 minutes. If I'm gonna keep on waiting for your reply, then I'm blocked, right? But let's say you're gonna say, okay, Abhilash, you go ahead and do your work right now. You don't have to be blocked. Whenever I'm gonna send you a response, you're gonna be immediately aware about it. In that case, I can go out and I can do something else, right? And whenever you're gonna be sending me the response, I can just reply you back again, right? It's the same thing. We're going to be going into that, but it's a very good question. But let's not go into that because we are just in the starting phase. Okay, don't want to get into microservices and all that thing. I want to avoid any complicated things as much as possible right now. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Any other
Yeah,
questions?
quick question, Abhilash. Like
Dylan.
so, yeah, coming to the threads, right? So there are
Huh.
multiple threads running, right? So if
Huh.
what happened if one thread got failed, like how to handle that case? Like because there is no dependency on one thread on other thread, right? So if
Yes.
one thread got error out or something, what happens for the other threads? Like we don't want the response to wait, or what we need to do during that time? Like
See. 1 second. All these things, Dilip, are getting managed by my Netty server right now. Okay, I don't have to do exactly. That is the reason why we're using the Netty server. We don't want to manage all these things by ourselves. In a Tomcat situation, if we want to do something like this, we have to write code. It's nothing like that. We cannot do the same thing in the Tomcat server, but we have to do a lot of things manually, right? But right over here, everything, this pool and all these parallel threads, all getting created, managed. What states these threads are? Is it in the running stage? It is in the waiting stage. What kind of state this is in? Everything is getting managed by the Netty server. Okay. But as of now, whatever I have done, like any other question, any questions, like something which is not understandable or something, guys, like who are looking into for the first time, and are you guys having any kind of difficulties understanding it, guys?
no,
No,
Abhilash.
Vilas.
No, Abhilash.
No,
No, Abhilash.
Keep talking to me, guys. Keep talking to me, and that's how I can know, like, and just communicate. If there is something I'm gonna be covering later, I'm gonna be telling you. There should not be any hesitation asking your questions, right? So keep talking to me. Otherwise, I'll be bored. Can we go for another 30 minutes? I'm gonna be showing you one of the most interesting part, and I want you to practice that so that in the next session the things will be easy for me. So what time is it right now? 8:37. People from US, basically. I think people can India can manage. Can we go till 9:15 or something?
Yeah,
No
sure,
problem,
Abhilash.
Abhilash.
No problem, right? Or sleepy?
No, not yet.
Okay, got it. All right, so let's just go to the next thing. Perfect. So let me just hit a Control Shift O to remove everything. So guys, so far, can I just do one thing? I just want to show you something. Spring WebFlux doc. Okay. It can hear this out. It can read this out. The original web framework included Spring Framework, Spring Web MVC, was purpose built for Servlet API and Servlet containers. The Reactive Stack Web Framework, which is Spring WebFlux, was added later in the version 5.0. So in Spring Framework 5.x version, this Spring WebFlux has been added in order to support the Reactive Web Framework. And this is holding what? This is holding servers like Netty or Undertow and the servlet containers, right? So the Reactive Web Stack has been added in this version. And this is a completely different in our tech stack, which uses Netty server, not the usual Tomcat server behind the scene. Okay. And over here, one thing I want to tell you. So maybe if you're gonna see, as of now, you have seen controllers like this, right? It's text hello as a get mapping, returns this. But here, if you are writing controllers like this, the way that I have written over here we are not fully utilizing the reactive programming or the Spring WebFlux. So because the Spring WebFlux encourages us to write functional style of coding. Well, over here, there is nothing wrong writing code like this. This is a usual pattern. You understand everything, I feel. Apart from the Flux, I think you can, like if you are new to Flux, everything else should be very much simple for you, right? But this should be discouraged should not be discouraged, I should say, but we should write all this thing in a functional way. And while I have given you the KT on the reactive stream course, whenever I was giving you the KT on that, I told you it encourages us to write functional style of coding. And whenever you think functional, yes, you are thinking right, those stream API, Lambda expressions and all that. That is another prerequisite. Okay, so be good with the stream API and be good with the Lambda expression. Well, if you are already working on Lambda and stream, you don't have to go today and start working on stream API again. No, I don't want you to do that. Whatever you know, that is fine. But if you are completely new to stream API, you don't know how to write stream API methods or call functions, how to write Lambda functions and all that, you have to spend a little bit on that. I have a course on this. You can also invest time on that. But I'm going to be showing you another approach of writing this kind of controller. But before that, just one last thing. Okay, guys, I told you the flux of string. I told you about the flux. Flux is what? It is a publisher. But what kind of publisher? I told you Flux basically does what? Anybody can unmute and can give me some idea about Flux? What it does, guys? Flux in Project Reactor, what it does? Like simply, I already told you. Anybody?
Limit the data.
Can hold a list of objects.
It can hold a list of data, but somebody says this emits the data. Okay, so is emits 0 data, 1 data, or many data, or like how?
Many data.
Many data, 0 to many. 0, like it should be 1 or more. 0, 1 or more data, right? Okay, so like Flux means just something like a list. If you're comparing, that is also fine for me, but they're not same thing. Flux is a publisher which can publish many things. It can think like that. But there is something that we have called a mono as well, right? If you remember in reactive core that we are using behind the scene over here in the WebFlux. So just like we are using a Flux subscriber, just for a quick heads up, before going for the next thing, we also have a mono. Okay. Let's say I'm going to say bar publisher. And in the bar publisher, what I'm going to do, let's say publisher. This is also a publisher, imagine. Okay. But in this publisher, let's say I want to publish something. Let's say if I have a requirement, I want to publish only one element, not many. In this case, whenever I was creating a Flux, I was creating like Abhi, Rakesh, Ramya, blah, blah, blah. So there are many strings. So if there is many, then I'll go for Flux. But let's say I want to create a publisher, which is only going to publish one type of data and one particular element. Then in that case, I can go for mono. So I can just do mono, which is also a publisher. And if I'm going to do just, see how much data it takes. It takes T data, right? T means what? Any type. It can be string, it can be integer, it can be blah, 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 right? So it is going to take T data. So one type of data. Let's say if I'm going to put 10, that's it. Okay, let's say integer. T will be integer. Can I put 12? Can I put 13? Can I put 14 over here? No. Then the just will complain because this is only going to take one element. Okay, whatever element you're going to give, let's say integer, that's 10. If it is a string, let's say it should be one string, right? So you can see the just is going to return you a mono of string. Mono means what? One. So mono, whenever you're going to hear it, it is also a publisher which is going to publish data, but it is going to give one element to you. Okay, it is going to emit 0 or 1 element. Okay. Publisher. Okay, so this is the publisher. Let's say if I want to return this mono publisher, then it will be same. I'm going to be returning mono publisher. Everything else will be same. If I want to emit the data, if I want to capture the data that we have inside the mono publisher, what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove all these things, let's say. Okay, and I can create an object of my class, which is test class. Then I can get the bar publisher, which is going to return a mono, by the way, mono of string. Okay, so I can just capture this. Let's say mono publisher, let's say. And if I want to capture data from this, whenever the publisher is going to push the data, the mono publisher can capture it. So and for that, a subscriber need to subscribe to this, and you can actually capture the data. If it, in this case, we have a mono of string, so I'm going to have the string type of data coming in. Whenever the publisher is going to push a data, it is going to push string data. I'm going to capture that string because it's a consumer. Over here, I can write inside the subscribe method, and I can print that str that we have over here. And if I'm going to run this, it is going to give you a Vilash here, right? Nothing fancy. I think very simple. Mono means 0 or 1. Flux means 0, 1, or many. Okay, so I think you understand that. So just like that, here in the hello world handler that you have written, if you have only one element, something like this, okay, so instead of, let's say this is a list that you have. So from the Flux, you are creating this string list, okay? Like this Flux you're creating out of this string list which holds one data. So instead of Flux of string, you can also say mono of string, because you just have one element inside this list, and with this list only you are using from iterable, and with this list you are creating a publisher which is a mono publisher. Okay, that also fine. So you can return, you can just do mono dot from iterable. Is it there from iterable? In the mono, I think it is not there, because mono means why you need to create it from the list. The list will contain many elements, right? Let's just say I'm going to remove the list, and what I'm going to say, I'm going to remove the delay elements, okay? And let's say I'm going to remove all this, and I'm going to say mono dot just to create a mono, and I'm going to say, let's say Abhilash over here, all right? And now this is a publisher. I'm going to return this publisher, and this is going to the return type. So your handler method can return a Flux or a mono based on the requirement. Sorry, go back, paste it. It can return a Flux or a mono if you are returning only one data. Imagine you are facing a student data, okay? A one student data you are fetching, okay? Let's somebody has hit an endpoint student/id. Then only one student data you need to fetch. Okay, in that case, it could be a mono of student, right? But in your case, you are fetching all the students from the database. It can be a Flux of student because you're going to be returning a list, right? So in this case, imagine I have only one type of data. So I'm just giving in mono format, right? So let's just run this, and everything else should be same. So if I'm going to run this, it will start, and I can go over here and can hit this endpoint, and I get a Vilasha. Okay, everything is good. And if you can just try to see the communication which is going on between this publisher and subscriber, you can use the log, and it will tell you how the publisher and subscriber are communicating. In this case, my client is a subscriber. Whenever I hit this, I get the data over here. If I want to check the things in the log, you can see over here, first the unsubscribe request has been made from my client, which is the Google Chrome. Now it is requesting for unbounded data, like whatever elements that you have, just give it to me, okay? Then one element only we have because it's the mono, and the on next call is there, and we are getting the data of Vilas, and then there is no more elements. So on complete event is getting fired to make sure, like, there is no more elements are there available inside the publisher to emit. Okay, the publisher is notifying the subscriber that it has been completed, and there is no more element to be emitted from the publisher. Okay, so there you go. So I think you understand this. And now, guys, you understand this mono and Flux thing. Now I want to show you one last thing that I want to do practice. Okay, so I have told you the WebFlux documentation that we have opened over here. So you can see our annotated controller style of writing code, the way we are writing right now. There is one more way. If I'm gonna hover this, there are functional endpoints. In your Office project, you're gonna be seeing code like this, and you might get mad like, no, what the heck are all these things, right? So this looks completely different, okay? So I want you to write this kind of code. And if you have patience for the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I'm going to tell you in very simple word, how can you write functional endpoints by avoiding the traditional endpoints like this. And trust me, it's going to be a very easy journey if you're going to understand it. I think 15-20 minutes will be enough. Guys, just see all these things, and let me have some water. And I'll tell you one thing, don't the code that I'll be writing right now, might be there will be some things here and there. You will be seeing like, okay, these things are new. I don't know about these things. And that's natural. If you're watching this reactive stream and the reactive way of coding things and the Spring WebFlux for the first time, this is very natural. But let's just try to convert this controller into functional style of coding, okay, which is very, very important. And you will be seeing that all over in a coming future, or you already may be using it in your office, because these days people are migrating to the style of coding which is functional. Okay, so let's just go for it. Just give me a minute. All right, so guys, what I'm gonna do, I will first of all delete everything. Okay, delete everything in the sense, delete the controller that I have created. Okay, otherwise let the controller be in over here, the package. I will just delete the class. I might need it later. Okay, I'm gonna do the functional style of coding right now. The same thing I want to do. You will be giving me a request. I'll give you a response back. My goal is simple. Somebody is going to hit hello and I have to give them a response back. Maybe hi, or maybe a list of string, maybe a list of student, maybe something I will do and I'll give him a response. You're going to be giving me a request. I'm going to be giving you a response back. Simple request response model I want to do, but in a little bit different way. Okay, so I'm going to create a class. So this class name, I'm going to be giving as route, let's say hello router. Okay, this is going to be a router class. Why I'm writing router? Because I want to route the request. Whenever I want to receive, whenever I'll be receiving a request, let's say /hello, I want to route it to a method which can handle that particular request. Very simple thing. For an example, whenever you are writing get mapping on top of a method, that is your handler method. Whenever hello request is coming to your server and the request matches, then the method that you are writing below that is getting invoked, right? Same thing I want to do over here. So I'll be writing hello router over here and I'll be putting it inside a package called router. Do a finish, okay? Now, by the way, what I want to do, I want to write a method over here, okay? What type of method I want to write? This is going to help me to route, right? So maybe I'm going to write a router config method, which is going to help me to route my incoming request to the server. Let's say somebody is going to hit hello request. I'm going to give him some response. So that kind of thing this router config class will, like this hello router class will do. And I'll be writing that code inside the router config method. I'll be writing some kind of configuration, which will help me whenever some X request will come, I will make sure some handler method is handling that X request, but I'll write it in a functional style. Okay. And for that, I'm writing this config method. So this is some kind of config method. So what I'm going to do, I want this router class to be registered first of all with my Spring, application context. So I'm going to be writing a configuration class over here because I'll be writing some kind of configuration. And if you remember, the configuration has inbuilt add component annotation. So this is by default is going to be a component and will be registered with my Spring container. Okay. And this router config is going to be a method and I'm going to make it a bean. So this will be automatically like whenever component scanning will happen, whenever the object will be created over here, for the hello router inside the application context of Spring, it will also register this method inside that particular class. So that inside this config class, I'll be writing my routing code. Like X request comes, I'm going to be routing it to, let's say, some handler method. That type of code I'm going to be writing over here. So that I want to be registered with my Spring. So that's why I'm writing at the red bean. So the object of this router config will be created. Well, right now, let's just start writing the code. What I'll be writing over here inside this router config, I said, right, I want to route the request. Okay. So if I want to route the request, there is a class actually. That class name is RouterFunctions. Okay. So new component, router function. You can treat this router function will do something exactly similar as your request mapping or get mapping. Okay. So the router function is going to have a method called route. Okay. I'm going to use the second route method over here. Okay. So there are two things it is going to take over here. In simple, before I see what things the router method will take, I'll tell you what exactly I'm going to do. Imagine I'll give an endpoint over here. Let's say hello. I'm going to say, okay, whenever you're going to get hello request, write it to this handler method where I'm going to have my code, blah, 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 and all my code, I'm going to be having it over here. So whenever the server is going to have an incoming request called hello, execute this method. That is exactly what I want to do it in plain simple word. But how exactly I'm going to be doing it? Let's just see the parameters right now inside the route, and then we will be implementing it. Well, let's just go to the route. Well, if you don't know generics, this might look a very weird kind of thing to you. I want to simplify it for you. So I'm going to copy this function and let's just try to simplify this method and let's just try to understand this. Okay. So let's just cut this. Come over here. I'm going to paste that method over here. And let's just try to understand it a bit. You don't need to worry about what things are written because you might see some new components name, but that's fine. Whenever you see first time @request mapping, @get mapping, @model attribute, you are also confused that time, right? Same way, this is new thing you are learning. So some new components, one or two or three things, just understand what we are doing over here and everything is going to be very simple. So whenever you are writing this type of code, just remember this route function you have to write, which will take a couple of things, which will help you to route a particular request to some handler method. That's what you're going to be doing over here. And that's it. Rest of the things you will be automatically writing once you understand it, once you start typing in your computer. Okay. So this is the method route. What it is returning? It is returning a router function of T. What is T? T should be server response or anything which is the subclass of server response. I don't want to confuse you with this. This is a generic syntax. Forget about it. If you don't know generics, just go out of it. By the way, I do also have a generic course. If you want to check out, you can check out streaming for free on YouTube right now. Okay. So imagine this is going to give you router function of server response. This is the return type of route. Don't freak out, by the way. Just keep looking into the syntax. Is in the first parameter, it takes a request predicate. Request predicate means, as I said, if you're going to be getting /hello, you're going to be doing something. You're going to be executing some bunch of code. And you can write, execute this handler method code. Okay, this is what you want to do. So if hello will come, then only you need to execute some code, like what will basically give you the response for the hello request. The same thing. So here in the first parameter, this means this is a request predicate. Why it is a predicate? Because it is giving you true or false, whether that request is matching or not. And for that, we have a class called request predicate. Okay. So if you're going to see over here, you can write something like this: request predicates dot get, and you can give the pattern. Let's say /hello, and you can see there is no compilation error for the route, right? So the first parameter should be a request predicate. So if you're going to see what this is returning, if I'm going to do Control X, put it over here. If you're going to hover on this get, this is going to return a request predicate to you, right? So can I copy or let me type this? Control-1, assign statement to a new local variable. It is going to give you the request predicate. Okay, you can pass in this request over here. Okay, that's it. Okay, or you can just move this directly to here. For now, let's just familiarize ourselves with all these things that it is returning. It might be easy for you while you are coding. So let's just keep it in this and we'll be simplifying it later. Okay. So we are just passing in the request over here. Till now, everything is good. Like you are following me up, guys? Guys?
Yes, Avilash.
Understanding? Just 1 second. Let me restart my recording. So already 1 hour 28 minutes, huh? What I was doing. Okay, that's fine. All right. Now the second parameter of my route function. Okay. This should be, you can see already, you can understand. Look at the class name they have given. The second parameter, handler function. Handler function. It should be some kind of function which will handle your request. Okay. So what this handler function is, if you're gonna go inside this handler function, okay, look at this. This handler function has a method called handle. Just look at this over here. This should be the second parameter of our route function. It has a handle method which takes a request. I told you what? In the hello router, okay, once some kind of request is coming, let's say here you are hitting a request called /hello. Whenever this /hello request will come, this is the route method which is going to check whether the hello request is coming. You might have multiple routes in your machine, right? If the /hello will come over here, then you need to do something, right? You need to handle that request. And how to handle that request? For that, you need to write a handle function. And the handle function internally has a method called handle, which takes what? Which takes a server request as a parameter. Imagine while you are hitting the request might be like this, or the request might have a query parameter like name is equal to Avilash, or it might have a path variable, something like hello, let's say hello Abilash, something like this. Okay, this is a path variable, or I might have a query parameter that might comes with the request. With the request, there might be header coming, JWT token coming, lot of other things might come with the request. Those things could be captured using this request over here, using the server request class that you have over here. So the handler function has a method called handle. This handle method you have to override because this is an interface and you need to give it an implementation. You can capture all the request parameters from the server request. And what you are giving a mono. Mono of what? Mono of T. What is T? You can see T extends server response, like server response or any subclass of it. But let's say I don't know generics. Imagine T is server response. So I will be returning server response back. So I'm going to take a request, going to give a response back. Let's just use this handler function. Imagine here I have to pass a handler function, right? Let's just create a handler function right now. Okay, imagine I'm going to create a handler function, and you can see it is automatically coming as server response, which is good. And here the T, you can think like this is server response. So I just want to remove this generic part. So don't want you to confuse somebody if they don't know generics. That's fine. So I can think like this is the interface. You have to give it an implementation. You can think like this. Okay. Now this is the handler function. Okay. I want to create this. So handler function server response. Let's say handler function is equal to new handler function. Can I create the object of interface? No, I cannot create. So I have to override the method that we have inside the handler function, which is the handle method. The handle method takes a request and gives you a response back. But this is not a normal response. I told you, no, while we have designed our API, you remember what we have done? We used to return a mono or a flux. Here you can see the handle method always going to return a mono of server response. Okay, the mono of server response. Server response is a class. We'll be creating the server response object and will be attached it with the mono and will return it. How? Let's just see that. Okay, let's say right now what I'm going to do, this handler function, I'm going to put it over here in the second parameter. And look at that. Do we have any error right now? No. So we're going to take a request. We're going to give a response back. We're going to take a request and our response will be depend on this handler function implementation. Go into the handler function, and this is my handler function. And what my handler function is doing, it is basically going to have a handle method, and here it is going to text the request. We're going to be writing whatever you want to do over here, and you're going to be sending the response over here. The response you need to send in the mono format, okay? Because we are writing reactive code over here. Let's just see how we're going to be doing it. What we want to do, let's say whenever you're going to give hello, I'm going to give you a let's say I'm going to give you a list of string or list or whatever. Let's say whenever somebody is giving me hello, I'm going to give him a flux. Okay, flux. Let's say flux dot just, and I want to give, let's say, hello world. Let's say hi reactive stream, something like this. Okay, this is the response I will be giving when somebody is going to hit /hello, right? So when somebody will hit /hello, these things I want to emit. I want my server to emit all these things. So I have created a publisher over here. Let's just handle the return type. Okay, let's say this is going to be my data publisher. Okay, so right now what I want to do, I want to return this thing. Okay, so how can I return this? Can I put it over here? No, you cannot put like this. Why? Because this is a flux. What you're returning? You're returning data publisher. But what is the return type in the handle? It is a mono server response. So you won't be sending data like this. This is just the body of your data. You want to send what? You want to send a lot of different things. You want to send the status code. You want to send the body. You want to send maybe the content type and a lot of different things, right? So that thing you need to mention over here. For an example, here, I don't, this could not be sent because this is a flux and we need to somehow create a server response and put it inside the mono, right? So how can we do this? Look at this. You can do like this. You can just do, I think you can use server response. This is something that we have to return over here in the handle method, server response. We're getting a request, returning the response. This is the response I'm building. Server response dot, then what is going to be the status code? The status code will be OK. OK means 200 OK status code I want to build. Okay. And then what is the body that I have? The body will be containing this flux data, right? Data publisher. Then what type of data that I have inside the data publisher? I have string type of data, right? So give the type, give the context. The context is string. The type of data that I have inside this data publisher is string. So I'm going to say string.class. There you go. Your body is ready. And look at the return type your body will give. See, mono server response, right? Same thing you are returning. So copy this, Control C, put it over here. Oh, sorry. Copy this over here. And let's just say server response. Okay, is equal to this. Now you can return this guy over here. Is it taking? Yes. Why? Because look at the return type. This body method is building. It's a builder method. It's giving you the mono server response. And this is exactly what you are returning over here in the handle method. You are taking a request. Obviously, you are not doing anything with the request over here because here with our request, if somebody is going to hit hello, there is no query parameter will come or no path variable will come. Let's say somebody is giving me a plain request like /hello. There is nothing else coming in the like the server request. Then obviously, I won't be capturing anything over here. Okay, so like whenever something will come, then I will use this request object and will fetch value from it. But for now, I don't have anything over here in the request. Okay, so now I'm just, this is the body that I want to give. In my body, I have all these strings available, and this is the data that I'm returning over here. Okay, why it is complaining or something? Or somebody has marked it over here. Okay, so, okay, that's fine. All right. So this is good. So I think my handler function is ready. Now we have only one error over here. See, we have given the handler function and the request. Whenever this request will come /hello, what we will do, we'll use this handler function and we're going to be taking the request and building a response out of it and returning the server response. And there you go. Now, what I want to do, one last thing, the route, like I'm doing RouterFunction.route. What this route will be return me? It is going to return me the router function of server response. So blindly, I'm going to copy this. Okay, whatever this return type of this, I don't understand much things right now because I'm coding for the first time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say router function. Okay, whatever it is going to return me, I'm going to do equal to. So this is my route method. Remember, this is the important method. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to get the router function server response?
Avila's quick
Ah,
question. So this
ah.
configuration is related to reactive programming. Okay.
Yeah, reactive program. But this is going to be very much simple. I'm just writing all these things manually, right? Just to make you understand. That's why a lot of, redundant line you are saying, this could be managed in one line. But if I'm going to write it in one line, things will not make sense, right? But these are all related to reactive programming. You will be seeing, I'll be just, making this line, making all this line as 1 or 2 lines only. Okay. And it will be very, very simple. But whatever I have done here, see the route function is going to return you this, and this is something that I need to return. That is the only thing I need to do, and you are done. And this is what the router function is returning. This should be your method return type, something like this. Okay. Now tell me whether this code is making sense to you. Like anybody, like, are you guys at least getting what I'm doing? This is the main important line. See, only see this part. There is a route function. It takes a request, gives a response back. This is the response. Whenever this request comes, this handler method will do the response building work. Whenever the request comes, which is get, okay, request predicates is the method. There is a get method inside it. I'm giving the request like this, and I'm putting the request over here. Okay, whenever this request comes, this handler function will do what? It will take the request, okay, and it will just, I'm just doing something over here. You can do whatever things. You can build a string, build an integer, whatever you are doing over here, and you are building your publisher, then giving this publisher data to the body. Okay, and what type of data that you have inside the publisher? You have string type of data. Okay, and this body method is going to return you the server response back in mono server response format, and you are returning your, basically you might have a flux of data, but you are embedding all this data inside the server response that you are creating inside the body over here. Okay, and then it is returning you a mono of server response. For one request, you're going to be getting one response. You are taking one request, you will be getting one response. So the response is written in form of mono. That's why the handle method is returning data, returning you a mono back, because it is going to return the response back. And that response can have the server response. This is the server response, which is one server response. But inside the server response, you might have anything. You might have list of data, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. In our case, the body contains the data publisher, and the data publisher is basically holding off all this data. Right? Now let me relaunch this, and let's just see what is going to happen. Right? If I'm going to run this, I'll go over here, and I'm going to hit this hello endpoint, enter, and there you go. Look at this. Hello world, hi, reactive stream. Okay, let's say here my flux method is delaying elements a little bit. Let's say delay elements, and I'm going to say durations dot up second, and let's say it is delaying all elements by 1 second. Okay, and look at this. If I'm going to relaunch this, okay, and if I'm going to hit my endpoint, enter. Oh, it is just after 4 seconds only, it is giving me the response. Okay. All right. So we can do something here. I can define the content type. Let's just see the content type I want to define. And like the content type should be JSON or XML. In reactive programming, there is a different type of content type we have. Let's just try to use it. I'm going to use media type. Okay, dot, we have application JSON, application XML, but here I'm going to use something like a stream, text event stream. I want to use this one. Okay, hold on. I'm going to be using this content type. So my response I'm building, first I'm doing okay, because I want to give 200 okay. Content type, I want to give text event stream, because this is going to stream the real-time data to me. Okay, like one by one the data will be streamed. Let's just see whether this is fixing it. Let's just run this, and I will go over here. I will do enter. Hello world, hi, reactive stream. You have learned a new things. There is a new content type that we have, what we have called text event stream. It is going to give you real-time data once the publisher is going to push the data to you. Okay, but for now, I'm going to remove the content type. Okay, and I'm going to remove the delay because I just want to focus over here with my handle method. Right now, let's just try to simplify this. Guys, see, we can do one thing. We are taking a request. We are taking and this is the handler function, right? This is the request. I can directly put my request over here like this. Control X, put the request like this. Okay, and I can directly put my handler function code. I can take it from here. Okay, and I can remove this request over here inside my route. Okay, this is my request and this is my handler function. I can paste it over here. This will also work, right? And now I can also simplify this. See, this is a handler function is a functional interface. So I can write functional style of coding. So what I can do, I can remove all this method name, method parameter, and like request, everything I can remove over here. Okay, and I can give a lambda symbol here, something like this. Okay, this is a lambda symbol, and then I can take it everything to one line, something like this. This is also possible, right? So now look at this. My route function, this is my router function dot route method. Here I'm going to give a request. Whenever the request comes, the response will be this. Okay, response will be like this. Here is the response you are building. Now you can do one more thing. You actually in the real time, you basically write controllers, right? You in the real time, you write handler method, right? So you do not want to mix up things like this over here. So what you actually can do, you can take all this handler code into a different program. Okay, so you can go to, you have a controller. So imagine in the controller, I'm going to write another class. This is going to be your, let's say, hello controller. Okay, hello controller or hello handler, whatever you're going to say. I'm going to make it a component, by the way, right now. This is not going to be a regular controller. This is going to be a component. Okay, inside this component, what I want to do, I want to write a handler method. Okay, why I want to write a handler method? Because inside my hello router, whenever this request is coming, I am building my response over here. Okay, so this lines of code is my main lines of code. So I want to copy this much lines of code, Control X. Okay, I'm gonna move it from here. I'll go to my hello controller and I'll put it over here. Okay, now look at this. Now this is the, for this I'm gonna write a handler function. Let's say my function, let's say hello handler. This is my handler method. Okay, I'm gonna start it over here. I'm gonna end it over here. What I'm returning a server response, right? Server response is what? This is what? This is the mono-op server response that I need. I'm gonna put the mono-op server response over here. Okay, my hello handler takes nothing right now. It's not taking anything over here. We're just creating a Flux. Okay, that is my data publisher. Then I'm putting this data publisher inside my body, and I'm telling what type of data my data publisher has. In this case, string.class. This is my body that I have. Okay, and this is the status code. Okay. Okay, so server response is a builder class. Using this builder class, I'm just using OK, then body, and building my body. And my body is giving me mono-op server response. This is what I'm returning over here. So my handler method is returning this. And I'm going to do Control S over here. Now in my hello router, I'll go over here. Let me just close this class. I'll go to my hello router. Here, whenever I'm going to use the route function, okay, it is going to accept this request called hello. Whenever hello request comes, I'm going to do what? I'm going to use the handler function right now. Now in my handler function, I'm going to take in the request and I'm going to give a response back. Here, what is the response? Well, which is the handler method which is going to handle that request? Which is the, like with this hello endpoint, what handler method I want to map? I want to map this handler method. This is my code. My code is right now not in my configuration file. So this is my hello controller. It is a component already. So I can go over here to my hello router. I can remove this blah, blah, blah things. Here I can create a object of private a hello controller object. I can import this and I'm going to say hello controller and I can auto word it. I can just do auto word like this. Okay. Now I can take this hello controller right over here and can call that method. I can just do hello controller dot, what method is that? Can I go to the hello controller one more time? This is the method. Let me make it. Let me make it a public method. Okay. So that I can directly call the hello handler method. In the hello router, I'm going to say hello controller dot hello handler. Now this is going to give me what? This is going to give me a response back. So what response it is going to give? It is going to give, can I do control 1 assign statement? It is going to give you mono of server response. And this is exactly this is exactly what I want. I want to take a request, want to give a response back. What should be the response? You remember the route function, right? What should be the second parameter? Handler function. Handler function do what? It takes a request, gives a response back. Response is what format? Mono of T. T means what? Server response. This is exactly what we're doing, right? In the hello router, we're taking in a request. This is my handler function implementation in the functional style. Okay, I'm going to take in the request. I'm not doing anything with the request right now. So what I'm going to do, this is my handler function. This is what it is going to return. So I'm going to do return hello handler, or maybe server response. I can say server response. Okay, and I can put it over here. Okay, there you go. Now this looks simple, right? Even I can do more, like I can simplify this more. See, this route function is going to return you what? It is going to return you something. Let's say router function server response. So let's not like make it 2 lines. I can cut this and I can cut this return thing over here, and I can directly cut the return and I can put the return over here. Okay, so this is my return. Now router config will return router function server response. Okay, and there you go. This is my route function, right? It takes a request. Whenever the request comes, it is going to redirect the request to hello handler method. Let's just see whether this is working right now. Let's just do restart this. Okay, just be on there for next 5 minutes and we'll be done. And let me just do enter. Look at this. You get your data back. So this is the functional style of coding. Can we basically modify it more? I think absolutely. Here we are basically calling it, then handling the return type, then putting it over here. I can directly cut it, Control X, put it directly over here in the return, and I can remove this, right? And now I can take all these things to one line, something like this. Okay, something like this as a one line. Okay, and I can remove the return as well, something like this. And I can remove the braces as well, something like this. And look at this. How simple is this? Now, what you have done over here? Here, you have a router function where you are writing your route. Whenever you are handling this request, you are redirecting to this handler. And this handler is right now doing all this stuff for you, how to building this request. Now, imagine, now this is exactly you go ahead and practice while you are practicing today. Now, so far, one last thing is that we are not utilizing this request, right? Imagine, right now I want to do this, hello I want to do, and I want to handle my request like, let's say there is a path variable or query parameter. Let's say path variable. I'm going to give a Vilas like this. Now, I don't have any endpoint which can handle like this URL, right? In that case, I want to capture this Vilas. So what I can do, so let's say I'm going to get hello, and then I'm going to get an endpoint over here. Sorry, a path variable over here. Let's say I'm going to say your name is going to be the path variable. Okay, it can be Avilas or Abhishek or whatever, right? Now, what I need to do, I need to capture this, and now over here in the handler method, I want to handle it. So here I'm capturing the request. So with this request only, I'll be capturing everything, right? Abhilas or Abhishek, whatever the path variable will come or whatever the query parameter will come, I'll be capturing it, right? You remember this request, what this is, okay? You see it, go to the route function. The second parameter is this, go over here. This is that request. This is the implementation that you are giving over there as a functional style. So with this request, everything will be captured. So you can utilize this request to capture your value, right? So you can go to the hello router, okay? You can pass in this request over here to your hello handler method, right? Go to the hello handler method. You can basically capture that request. What is that request? You can look at the handler function. What is that? It's the server request type, right? So go to that handler method, write server request right over here. Server request. Okay. Now let's say what I want to give. I want to give hello and your name, whatever name he is giving. So how can I give it? So I can give it like this. Let's say from the server request, first of all, I'll get a, what is that? Query parameter, not query parameter, path variable. Path variable name is what? Let's say over here in my endpoint, the path variable name is your name. Okay, so let's just go to your hello controller, capture the path variable, and now the path variable will give you a string back. So capture it, Control-1, string, handle the return type. This is the path variable. This is the name I'm capturing. Now what I want to give, I want to build a string. Okay, I want to build a string. Let's say string response. Okay, and the response I want to give your, let's say your name is, okay, let's say name is something that I want to give. Okay, now this is the response I want to give, right? But can I directly give it like this? No, because it is expecting as mono server response. Why it is expecting a mono server response? Because the handler function implementation, remember again, what it is returning, mono of t. What is t? Server response. So you have to give the response in mono of server response because you are working with the reactive programming. And over here in the handler router, the second parameter is the implementation of the handler function. And the handler function handle method is basically returns what? It takes a request, but returns what? Returns a mono of server response. So this method need to return mono of server response. But how to build the mono of server response? You need to use server response like this, then .ok, this is the status code, 200 OK. You have many things like accepted, which will be 202, or bad request, which is 400. Now I need to send you OK status request. Then the body I will be giving response. Will it work? Now body will be response and it is containing string.class. Will it work? No, it will not work. Why? Because if you're going to see the body always takes a publisher. Let me not confuse you with all this thing. Over here, is it working by the way? Let me, okay, hold on. Let me tell you that. Okay, now it is going to give you mono of server response, but this will not work. Let me just prove you like this. So here I'm building my body. Okay. Then this is my body. I'm putting my response that I built over here and it's a string class. Let's just put it over here. And this is the return type. Okay, let me just do Control-1, assign statement. This is going to be the return type. Let me tab it like this. Okay, now this is the response, final response. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, put it over here. Let's just see whether this is working right now. I'm going to run this. Okay, I ran this. Okay, I will go to this and hit enter. Okay, what I'm getting? An internal server error over here, 500. What is the error? If you're gonna see my error, assert null. See, illegal argument exception. Producer type is unknown. Producer type is unknown. That means here in the body, the publisher that I'm giving or the producer that I'm giving is response. This is a string type of object. In the body, you always need to put, a flux or a mono, which is a valid producer. So now over here, let's just do what? Let's just do, it is only single response. I'm going to do mono dot just, and I'm going to put my response over here. From this response, which is a string, I'm going to generate my mono, and this just method is right now giving me a mono object back, right? So I can right now, I can say this is my response, right? Response is already there. Let's say this is my publisher, something like this. Okay. Now take this publisher put it over here. So instead of giving this response directly, you convert it to mono or flux and give that thing over here for the first parameter of your body and tell that what type of content that your publisher is holding. Now my publisher is holding the string type of data. Now let me just see this, run this. Okay, now it started. Now let's just go back, enter, and look at that. It is working, right? Now this is the functional style of coding. Look at your code over here. This is your handler code and this is your router code. And even you can basically simplify this lambda symbol. Here you are doing what? Hello controller, and you are calling this method. So you can directly use lambda syntax like this, colon operator, right? And here you can remove this request because whatever is going to be the parameter that will be passed over here. You don't need to specify it. The request will be automatically passed over here. So you can even simplify that and create a functional, a method reference out of that lambda expression. So if you don't know, if you don't understand this, you can do something like this, okay? Or else you can convert that one to this, okay? So this is more functional. Now look at this. This is your router function. And if you're gonna go to your hello controller, now you can see, I have not done anything. Your IDE only generated this. So look at this, how good it is. And this is the functional style of creating the controllers right now, okay? And what you may ask, okay, what benefit this is giving? This is gonna give you a lot of benefit, right? I'm gonna tell you about all these benefits, how this is going to help you and all that in the next session. For now, today, you go ahead and replicate the same thing, and that's it for today's session, okay? I won't be stressing it because a lot of things you'll start enjoying it, but you first go ahead and understand how to write this kind of function and what things that I have done, you go ahead and analyze, and that's something that will be continuing from the next Saturday, okay? So between this time, if you find time, go ahead and learn the reactive Java a little bit. That's it for today's session. So is it making sense right now? Any other questions, guys? Archana, how much sense is it making to you?
No, I was able to understand, Abhilash, like how we,
Same
how
thing
we
as
created
REST.
the hand. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a different way of doing it for sure.
Exactly.
Because we're using Lambda and how we did the functional programming here, right? Like I have one question, Abhilash, that how we created a handler method that you put separately into the controller side. So, for example, any kind of request, we put the handler methods to the controller. Like that's how supposed to be.
Yeah. Like like you are saying, like if we have another request, what you will do, right?
Oh, right.
Archana, just quickly, I'm gonna do it. You just practice it just the way I have practiced it. You practice like this. Let's say I have another handler method, which is saying, let's say I have a high request that I need to manage. Okay. Let's say I'm gonna say hi handler. Okay. And let's say it takes a server request. Let's say server request. And I'm gonna say server request. And let's say over here, what I need to do. Let's say let's say I'm gonna return a Flux back. So I'm gonna say Flux, okay, .just, and let's say I'm gonna say Archana. I'm gonna say Selenium, and I'm gonna say Express. Let's say I have 3 strings over here, and I'm gonna create a Flux out of it. So I'm gonna do control1 assign statement. And it's a good question. So let me just show you this. So I'm gonna say Flux. And right now, let's say I'm going to return this. But for that, I need to build the server response, right? So I'm going to say server response. And I'm going to do what? .ok, .body. And here I'm going to define my Flux. And then I need to define the kind of data it contains, right? So it contains, let's say, string type of data. Let's say string .class. Okay. Now this is going to return, this is something I'm going to return directly. I'm going to returning it directly right now. It is going to return you a mono of server response. So I'm going to copy this directly over here. Okay. And I'm going to make it public. Okay. Now this is your handler method. It is ready, right, Archana? Now see, here go to the router. Now this is the benefit of using the functional style of coding. See how clean your code will be. Come over here. You can chain it. You can create another bean. Otherwise, you can just chain it like end route. See, there is another method called end route. And now same thing. First, it will take a request predicate. So just give the request predicate. So request predicate and request predicates dot get method. And what is going to be the pattern? Let's say /hi. Okay. And what is the method that you will be capturing? So you're going to be taking the request and you're going to be saying hello controller dot handler method. Hi handler. Hi handler. And you can pass in the request over here because you are taking the request. By the way, you are not doing anything with the request. So if you want, you can also remove it. Okay. So let's just go back and that's it. You are done. Let's just launch this. Launch this. And I think it should work. Now, if you're going to do hi, enter. See, your name is hi. Oh, sorry. Hi, right? Archana, Selenium, Express, right? Now you want to stream data. If you want to stream data, how you will be doing it? Now, I told you while practicing, if you want to stream data, knowingly just delay it. Just to see the async behavior, knowingly just add a delay elements and add a duration. So you can just say duration dot off second. Yeah, and just give, let's say 2 seconds, right? Now that's it. Now just start it again over here in the OK. Just like you used to add content type like XML, JSON. If you want to add the streaming capacity, just add the content type and change the streaming type as media type dot event stream, text event stream. Okay. Now launch this and you are done. Now it will deploy everything again to the server. Now if you're going to do enter, after every 2 seconds, it is going to stream the data to you and it's a non-blocking call. And how do you prove it? If it is a non-blocking call, if you have doubt anytime, just put a log over here and the log will show you the thread name, right? Whenever you're going to be hitting it, it is going to show you the thread name. Now let me just do enter. Now in every 2 seconds, it is going to generate the element and look at the thread which is handling the data. It is all different, right? For Express, it's parallel 3. For Selenium, it is parallel 2. Okay. And one last thing in the hello router, if you want to simplify this, you don't need to pass the request over here. You can remove the request. It will be automatically passed if you're going to use the method reference, something like double dot over here. Directly call this on top of the object that you have created. This is your method name and the request will be automatically passed over here. And that's it. You are done. And look how clean this is. And this is the way you will be writing the functional style of programming, right? So I will encourage you to practice this once, learn reactive programming, and in the next session, learn a little bit of map, learn a little bit of flat map if possible, and the reactive code that I do have. Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions, guys? Any other questions? All good? Prajakta, if you have any questions. Pradeep?
No,
Rep-
Abhilash. You're
I'm good, Abhilash.
Okay. Repti, all good? Pooja, if you have questions. Sam?
All good, Abhilash.
All good?
I'm good, Abhilash.
Guys, I haven't confused you guys, right?
No, Abhilash.
No, Abhilash.
Okay, cool. God knows that you guys are telling me truth or not. Okay, that's fine. All right, so that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for joining and have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
See you guys on next Saturday, huh?
Thank you,
Bye.
Abhilash.
Thank you, Abhilash.
Thanks, Abhilash.
Thanks.
Thank you, Abhilash.
Bye.
Thank you, Abhilash.
Thank you.